If the market goes up for the next 3 years, you are pulling out way too little. If the market tanks next year, it's going to get tight.
Yep. And we had talked about that before, of like the next 5 years really determines a lot of different things. And that gives me a little bit of worry, only because we've had 2 really, really good years. And that doesn't mean that there won't be 5 more good years, but that could also mean it goes down. But if I use that same logic, then no year is ever a good year to retire or keep working.
And then we don't travel and we have a $20,000, it stays in the fund. Yeah.
And the absolute worst case scenario in all of this is it doesn't work out over the next 2, 3, 5 years. And we go back to work for a little bit back in the US or whatever it might be, or in France. And that's our current life. And our current life isn't that bad.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
Welcome back. This is our technically last meeting, I guess. Like, we've been hanging out for, I don't know, 6 months now. And your life's been like all over the place over that. Like, I've seen the emails, like, what is going on?
Well, I
can tell your side of it.
So, we've been kind of, we started out with this idea of sort of early retirement, that kind of thing. And then we had these opportunities potentially for going to Korea, going to Germany for different positions. And through lots of different reasons, those things have just fallen apart.
I mean, military, bureaucrat.
Yeah, government, all kinds of just crazy reasons why it just hasn't worked out. Nothing to do with us, nothing to do with anything that we've done. Just the process didn't work. I think through this whole thing, I mean, we've come to realize that what you've said in the beginning of this whole 6-month process is that we're in a place where we can do this early retirement. We can, do the live early kind of thing. That's what we're going to do. And sort of our decision probably, once this last Germany thing fell through, was by the end of this year, we're done with my job, selling our things here and going and traveling, going probably over to Europe for a while and doing the file thing and seeing how it shakes out. And kind of my thought on it is, worst case scenario, we're right back to what we're doing right now. That's the worst case scenario, what we're living right now. That's kind of our plan.
Okay, Libby, I got to ask you this. Like, Andy's recital of that was like an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I want to, but yeah, like, am I reading that wrong or?
Oh yeah, there's been so many emotional roller coasters. Like the morning he didn't get the job, we were just like, what do we do with our life? And I have bags on my eyes because I don't think I've slept for a week because I've been researching where are we going because we are making this happen. And yeah, we were going to go full on nomad, but we do have a cat and we're we've made a commitment to him. So where can he come where we're not jumping every 3 months doing the Schengen, whatever, trying to avoid visa stuff. I emailed you about Portugal or Spain, but I've been researching this whole week, not sleeping literally at all, trying to figure out where could we stay, where can they renew visas, where doesn't take $1 million of our taxes, because some of those countries are 40% taxes, which we'd have to double our retirement for that. Yeah, I think we found solution. I think we found France.
Okay, that wasn't on the list. So talk to me about France. Why France?
Yeah, I did. I mean, again, I've done I could be a visa expert at this point with all the research that I've done now. But France has entrepreneur visa. So both Andy and I can apply individually with our jobs. You just have to prove that you have a minimum amount of money in France to legally stay there. After a year, you renew it. You get up to your 5 years. After 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. The taxes were 30%, which is still kind of higher than we would have liked, but that's only on that first 5 years that we're going to work. And then once you're in retirement, they do not touch your retirement. Portugal and Spain still took 40% of your retirement. France has a 0%. They won't touch your retirement.
They have a tax treaty.
With the US. Medicals, everybody says medical in France is really good. The pricing that we're seeing, I mean, we calculated in our budget, I think with you, about $2,000 a month average for rent, and we're seeing rent in France could easily be $800 to $1,500. Like $1,500 is more of like a splurge even. So yeah, I mean, it was just like checked, like, oh my gosh, it's checking all the boxes. He woke up one morning at 5 a.m. and I said, I think I found us an actual solution. And he's like, have you been sleeping at all? It's 5 a.m. I was like, no, I've been up since 2 a.m., but I found us a solution.
That's awesome. And how's your French?
Un petit, we are learning it right now.
Yes.
We're practicing and we're diving in with lessons.
Because that is another requirement for the visa, is to base level French. So we have to get onto that.
It's totally new to Andy. I took it for like 4 years in high school, but never used it after that. But like the classes are slowly, I'm like, oh, I remember this. So hopefully that's good.
Yeah. So that's our plan now. Things may change, may shuffle around, whatever. But I think the core concept of what we want to do now is the same. I mean, we're doing the file thing, and we're going to start moving around, traveling, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
So what about the DR place?
Still there, and it won't be ready until next summer now. So that'll always be there that we can, when we're sick of winters in France, then we could go to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, and then hopefully, and this wasn't accounted for in any of our income situation, is the potential to rent it out during certain times, friends, family, Airbnb, whatever it might be.
Yeah, we've been playing around with your program and entering that in as a viable source of income, and it changes things significantly. I think that's probably what we'll do.
Yeah.
Just got to be careful because rent is never guaranteed, blah, blah, blah.
And we're not putting it in the numbers as guaranteed, but we just played around and we're like, oh, this is what it could be if it was. So it's like, the potential that's there, any extra money is better than it not being there. So we thought, oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, because I think the budget that we sent you and what we're basing everything off of is the Dominican Republic place sitting there empty all year, still paying utilities, still paying maintenance fees, all of that, never being rented out for a single day. So that's the worst case.
Now, you know me, I like to mess with your brains a little bit. The one I want to throw in your brain, just to have it, is considering selling the DR place when it's done.
Yep. And that could be a potential option because also now, if we do go down the French path, Guadeloupe is a Caribbean island owned by France. So now our Caribbean getaway could be Guadeloupe and we're legally allowed to stay there. And so, the options are kind of endless. And we did actually freak out mode message our realtor saying, what if we don't want to buy the place? Like, how far in are we? How far in are we? Because we haven't paid the final balance until it's ready yet. And she kind of said, why would you want to sell? This place is gold. And we were like, we know, but we want to know the option. But then we decided, no, it's good. We do want it right now. That kind of thing. But yeah, I think the potential to sell it'll be there if we want it. Like, we're not going to make a ton of money off of it, but I think we could probably at least break even.
Yeah.
The math I want you to kind of run in your head. Every time somebody's like, oh, I'm going to rent out my place. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do the math. Let's look at the real work. The question you have to answer is, can I make more on the rental than I would make in the market? And is it worth the work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You sell the place, you break even, you put in the market, if you can return 7 to 10% on average, your rent from the place would have to beat that. But keep in mind, the market is no work. Rental is always work somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if you're paying a management company to take care of it, there's work there. So if you're really trying to live this like file lifestyle and just kind of let it go.
I think the DR for us is still a safe, like it's our backup of the backup, but it's like the rock bottom. We have this place. It is ours. I think maybe until we knew that France was a for sure thing, like visa in hand, probably a year in, and once it's approved for that 5 years, and then as long as we haven't done anything, we get the residency, then it would be like, okay, now we could potentially look at letting it go. But right now it's still, I think, our like safety net in case crap totally hits the fan. It's ours, and we know we can go there, and we have a place for some of our stuff. And yeah.
So I've had a few folks keep the safety net, the blanket, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And usually about 6 months later, they're like, why the hell am I keeping this? So I'm just kind of like.
We had this discussion probably a week ago.
Yeah, where I said the same thing to Andy. What if we sell it? He's like, where did this come from? I'm like, I'm just playing around with all these ideas right now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like a burn the ships moment. Screw it, sell it. Let's just go on this whole France path. If France doesn't work out, Libby goes on the internet again for a couple more days, loses some sleep, and we go to Argentina.
Netherlands is another viable option.
Yeah.
I think what happens is now we've got 3 countries in your financial and your tax plan. Because we got you, unless you're looking at renouncing your citizenship to the U.S., which probably is not a great answer for you two. We got U.S., we got France, and we got DR. Okay, we got 4 countries, like I said.
But nothing happens with you for Canadian side of things.
Canada,
She's a US
I just have the
citizen.
passport. That's all
Yeah.
that I have.
Just keep in mind, take a look at France and see about their rules about dual citizenship and if it allows 3. It's one of those weird ones.
Yeah, we can do that.
Like everybody looks at dual citizenship like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I'm like, and what's the limit? Dual usually means 2. Like,
Yeah. I would give him the Canadian one if I had to, because I'm not going back. I do not want medical there. My grandpa's going through medical. It's awful. I want nothing to do with that system. And so I would give that up if I had to.
Yeah.
It's just a passport at this point.
so what did your realtor say about if you sold the DR place now?
We had just kind of dropped it on her less than a week ago. So she was going to go through the contract and talk to the building team to see what it is. Because we could sell it internally, like as it's being built, we can pull out. And if they can sell it, then there will be some cost to it, some penalty, I'm sure, some deposit that we've put down that we wouldn't get back. But we're still waiting on getting that exact number back from her.
Yeah, I'll check in with her after this meeting. Yeah.
What's happening is your life is going in a different direction.
Yep.
The likelihood that you're going to go to the DR and go that plan has gotten a lot less. Let's call it that.
Besides for just using it now as like a winter vacation place, but we can rent that if we need that.
That's my point. Like you do travel stuff. You can find a place to rent for a whole lot cheaper than keeping it.
Yeah.
Being a remote landlord in a different country, that does not sound like fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just calling that out. Essentially, the way I would look at it and say, okay, we put in all the paperwork to France. I'm not taking my couch to France. I'm not taking the DR place to France either. Like,
Yeah.
So what are you thinking you're going to get for rent from the place? Because we're not going to get the rent till the middle of next year.
Yeah.
I was calculating, we're seeing on Airbnb right now, they're renting for about $150 a night. We thought at minimum to make money back, plus just a little bit extra, would be at minimum every month if we could rent it for a week to somebody, somewhere that just is the break even. But yeah, then the potential for more than that.
Did you look at the cost for the management company there to do it?
No.
No, but I think we're able to rent on our own or use the management company. So we could use like Airbnb or the management company.
You're going to want a management company if you're going to do it, because what happens if something breaks? The cleaning, the whatever. The last thing you want is a phone call in the middle of the night. Hey, the hot water heater blew, and you're now like trying to figure it out. Where I'm going is if it's a week to break even, all right? So it's really 2 weeks to make money, and it's 2 weeks on average across the year. And we've got seasons in there. We got hurricane seasons. Like the number of weeks that are rentable become less and less and less.
Yeah. Which is why we bought it initially, not ever thinking we would rent it out. It was just going to be our place to use for a couple months. It's someplace that's home and then travel the rest of the year kind of thing. But now if we might have a actual legitimate home, then yeah.
This is where I'm going is I'm kind of like messing with your brain a little bit of financially. If you said, hey, I'm going to go, how much you got left to put down on that place? What was the number?
90,000 is still left to put down on it.
I'm going to round it up to $100,000 after whatever fees, something stupid happens, whatever. If you said, hey, I'm going to go take $100,000 and put it into a rental in the DR, I'm going to go, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a financial standpoint, that we can buy real estate investment trusts that actually hold land in other countries if we really want.
Yeah. You're getting a heart attack. I just heard him breathing
Oh, no, not giving me a heart attack.
Libby, I've done that to him at least 3 times. Okay, let's be real.
No, I agree with what Jay's saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think one of my, I don't know if it's a concern or whatever it is, but everything that we have is in the stock market, basically, with the exception of the Dominican Republic place. And yes, I mean, we could put money into like a REIT or so. That would be like the real estate version of stuff. It's always worked out well for us. Yeah.
Well, it's a question of exposure. If you're saying, hey, I want real estate exposure, if you buy a real estate investment trust, you are buying into a management company managing those properties. You get the rent as income coming out of it, essentially. There's a little small technicality in there, but they do all the work. You get money, which if you're going to pay a management company, you got the same problem. The other problem is we're now going to have income that's coming in from another country too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Andy, I'm going to tell you, you're not doing the taxes on this stuff to start because as soon as you do cross-border country, you pay a CPA. But now we're trying to I've got money coming in from another country.
Yeah.
It is true because we'll also be getting, if we're in France, we'll be getting hit with the income tax side of things from the DR income for sure, at least that.
Mm.
And one of the big advantages that we've seen about France was that after these 5 years and we can stop with the earned income side of things, then we're not getting taxed on the what they call pensions, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, all of that kind of stuff. So that still works into like the plan that you've put together. Because my biggest fear was we're over there and now we're getting taxed on money coming out of a Roth IRA or Roth 401k, and that changes everything.
Right. And where I'm going is I'm trying to make your trip awesome, but we got to make your finances simple.
Yes, simple. Yep.
Well, and the DR place, you get that money we already put in back, most of it, and then we've been saving that side of it, not counting that for our future. So that's like 100 and some grand that now goes into our retirement plan. And maybe we get to use it for a place if we actually want to buy a place one day in France.
By the way, you guys rent for as long as you can because I don't know what country you're going to end up with, never mind what area of France you're going to be in.
Oh, no.
Let's just be honest now.
Yeah.
We're loving the renting lifestyle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody that tries to convince me to buy a house, I'm like, you got to convince me you like doing the work, you like the house, I would love to do, it's called adaptive for use. You buy an old commercial building, like a firehouse or something, you make it a house. That's okay. You're buying it because it's a project. Buying it for finances.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made money on our last houses, but we spent a lot on them too.
Yeah. What's holding you back from just saying, screw it, let's get rid of the DR place? Libby just said I gave you a heart attack. So.
Oh, no. I don't think anything's holding me back from getting rid of it. I do want to find out from our realtor what that looks like. And I agree that it would be, that financially it probably makes sense long term. And
I don't want to confirm France is a thing, but from everything I've read, it really looks like a shoe-in as long as we do our application right. France also has the retirement side of it too. So say we get this 100K back now in our plan. I mean, we might not even have to apply as working for the next 5 years. Like money-wise, it might even show we're good to go. I don't know how much that would change the numbers.
Yeah, you may have to, I don't know their rules off the top of my head. So I did this for someone else. If we can establish what your investments are going to give in income, sometimes you can use that as, yes, I have income from my business and it's enough to qualify. That's like one of those. And by the way, you may have to come back to me because it may have to come from like a CFP or somebody or CPA, like somebody with some letters to do an analysis. But cool, you can do that. And Libby, you're still going to do your business. So, you'll have that too. Like there's options.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just testing it. The way I'm looking at it is if it costs you $5, maybe even $10,000 to get out of, the lost deposits, whatever, for the amount of work and the taxes and the hassle and it kind of kicks, if you decide you want to place in DR, you can do that 3 years from now and find a different one.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's very true.
Yep.
I was going to say, it's good to hear you bring this up. It seems random that you brought it up, but a week ago, we were having this very same discussion about the DR place. And so
it makes me feel like I'm crazy when I'm just throwing out these ideas.
Helps a lot because I felt like right at that time, like a week ago, we were just grasping at straws at that point. We were like, Portugal, Spain, France. We'll just pet sit. We'll it was just all over. Sell the DR place. Like so many things were happening at a time that it's like, okay, maybe we focus on the France thing. Now we can.
Well,
look at the
finally, an
DR.
option is viable.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of them were like, nope, this doesn't check this. Nope, this doesn't check this.
Yeah, and Andy, you're right. I get to say things that Libby would have said to you that sounded crazy then, but it sounds cool when I say it. Like, I get it. Like,
there was just too many things happening at that time, and I was like, whoa. Like one thing at a time. What's
yeah, where I'm really trying to go is if we're going to do a international move, which a lot of folks do, my question is, okay, how do we make everything finance as simple as possible? Like, how do we set it on autopilot? How do we get our accounts set up, whatever we need? Like, when you go internationally, it's very hard, nearly impossible to open accounts back in the U.S. So which accounts do we need to have in place? Another thing is you got to watch how you move the money across countries. How do you account for it from a tax standpoint? I had one of my colleagues, for whatever reason, their client changed their mailing address on some of their U.S. accounts to an international, and the bank closed their accounts immediately. Like, we don't service people in that country. So, and now reopening an account while you're in the country. I'm just trying to figure out, all right, what do we have to simplify so then you can enjoy it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. What'd you figure out the total monthly guess of bills will be in France?
Oh, monthly?
Oh, well.
Or annually. I don't care.
I mean, we had done the spreadsheet, and we had come up with like around 5,500 total, but that $5,500 a month total in our budget. That accounted for about $2,000 in rent, which I think it'll be less than that. And that also included all the expenses for the DR place. So like utilities in the DR, maintenance fees in the DR.
And that included the $20K annually divided by 12 of travel.
And it included $1,500 a month of travel, which we kind of moved that, I think, more over into like goals thing.
So let's rough it and say it's $5,000 a month of expenses or less. All right. So we don't take the money we don't buy the place in the DR. We just kind of let it sit. My numbers say you got about $230,000 in cash sitting around. You've got 4 years of your expenses covered right there without breaking a sweat.
Yep.
How's that feel?
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's good.
I'm just playing this out, yeah, we got some tax in there, but if we're just living off, interest, capital gains, things like that, we're not going to have huge tax bills. Now, ideally, would you do work to cover it, or would you not do work, half-time work? What would you ideally do?
Well, the one thing about France, it seemed that it was really strict, is you can either go the entrepreneur route, which requires each of us to make $20K a year, which fits that plan that we had with you, or full-on retirement, cannot bring in a dime.
Yep. So which way you want to go?
Our plan right now was to go to the entrepreneur route to start. And
I would kind of be interested, though, like if we did give up the DR place, what the numbers look like if we weren't working for 5 years.
You're okay. We'll run them, but
I think it would be the exact, like if we bailed on the DR place, that cash is just sitting there essentially making that $20,000 or $40,000 a year for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Right? Like it's just, we're spending it down, but that takes that out of the equation.
Yeah.
This is the point. Like, it depends on the quality of life you want to live. One of the ones I like, way to look at it, your portfolio on return on average is about $100,000. You got $60,000 in expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Market, good years, bad years, but.
Yeah, the other thing that we would just have to look at then is if we do consider that and the retirement visa side of things, what are the requirements for that? What do they require you to make? I don't know.
Same minimum annual, so $40K total.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about you got 1.1 million, something like, what do we got total?
Yeah.
We can prove we can live there.
So I guess that's
we got 1.4. I got no problem demonstrating you're going to get $40,000 a year out of your investments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably what they would ask for then, I guess. They would be like, okay, we need someone to run a program to show that this exists. Yeah.
The only thing I would be concerned about, and I'm sure there's a workaround and we could figure it out. I only have a few trips right now into 2025, but that would technically be income coming in 2025 up until I think March, no, maybe April. So I don't know how we would do that or like, to show, yeah, we're retiring, but we're getting this income, one last stitch.
The game on this one is you find somebody else as a travel agent and you essentially sell them your trip for half price and they pay you in advance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was kind of just playing around in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, could that work?
It can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that person cancels the trip. I just give them back that money or whatever. Yep.
No, you offer it. They pay you half price-ish. And if it cancels...
We're good friends. They would pay me full price. But if it cancels...
My point is if you do it for some type of discounted, they take on the risk of somebody canceling.
Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking if they do cancel, then I just give them their money back. And it's okay if I give money. I just can't get money.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clean it up. I'm just trying to make it even cleaner. That way, we're done. Bye. There is no business being done. Like, I want to be able, like, if we're doing this paperwork for these type of things, you want to cross T's, dot I's, make sure you follow exactly the rules. But answer the question a different way. What do you want to do with your time? If you two didn't work for the next 5 years, would that drive you crazy?
Oh, it wouldn't for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been faced with that question or situation. So.
I think it's weird in France that like you couldn't even if you wanted to, like even, like side hobby, bring in 10K a year or something. You can't even do that on the retirement thing.
Hold on. Don't think about the visas yet. Okay. Because we'll answer that question next. The question is, what life do you want to live? Then that'll help us decide which path to follow.
I feel like right now the stress of us both having to bring in a certain amount, it's a little stressful. Like, oh my gosh, we have to bring this in, which I think we can. And I think we're even going to surpass what we need to bring in. But just like that's the standard to stay in the country and to meet this plan we have with you. It's like, to me, like there's a lot on both of us being like our own independent businesses and that kind of thing. To just like know that our money's doing it for us would be like, cool, we already did it. Like, yeah, we did this.
Well, watch this. I'm just play with it a second. I have no clue if this is going to work. But what if your business was something finance related, kind of like what Andy was doing with taxes, and we claimed part of your income off of the investments to the business?
Wait, what?
How does that?
I don't know how it works. That's the first question we need to answer. But like, can part of your income off of your investments go to the business? So, for example, we make Andy and Libbi Corporation, whatever France version of that is. You two move some money over there that's invested, and that's part of your income.
Yeah, I think we had kind of looked at that too. Like, say we didn't meet the income requirements for earned income, we could essentially move money into the business. The only downfall of that is we're getting taxed on it as income.
Well, your cash, the cash that's in a savings account, you're currently going to get taxed on as income anyway.
No, not in France.
Right?
Well, remember, you still have to, even with the treaties, we got to figure out who's going to charge you more, the U.S. or France. And we got to figure out how that's accounted for. That's why, by the way, a cross-border CPA is a must discussion real soon.
Yeah.
That income does not disappear because you go to France.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
But answer the question first. The life you want to live in an ideal world.
Doing all this so that we can retire in 5 years. Do we need I don't need the 5 years to retire. If you told me I could not work after 2025, I'm in.
Yeah.
I think you could too. He was just, you talk for yourself, but you were saying the other day, I just want to ride my bike and do triathlons and not wake up at 5 a.m. if I don't want to. And yeah. You don't need to work to be busy. You can like create your own
I can
things.
Find other things to do. Yeah.
So the question is, in an ideal world, which would you have? And part of the things we had discussion on work before was you wanted extra money for travel. Now, if you're in France, you might not need as much extra money for travel because, where we're at, but Does working either change your quality of life somehow, or is it screw it, we're out?
I think if our screw it, we're out still has that like 20K travel a year in it or something, like as long as we still have a travel fund a year, then yeah, that'd be awesome.
Andy looks like I'm giving him another heart attack, so I'm checking in with you, man.
My head is thinking. Part of me,
I want to see the numbers. Can you show us the numbers?
Solve life first, then we'll fix the numbers. I'm just trying to do both at the same time.
well, I feel like the France visa thing complicates things in my answer. But if I was able to not work at all and do that, I'd be okay with that. But I like having the option to go and make money if I needed to. Right? Like I enjoy that part of things. Like if things aren't going well, the stock market's not doing well, or if we think we need more money, I can go and earn money in some way.
I think then you switch your visa to the entrepreneur.
I don't know how
you can go back and forth and prove, okay, now I want to work, so I'm gonna be an entrepreneur.
I don't know.
And I could stay in retirement because I'm not gonna work, and then you can bring in $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Can you split it?
You can
Be like, one's retired. Okay.
Yeah,
Because you're on separate. We have to both actually apply for separate
visas.
entrepreneur visas.
Okay. So can we have the Andy business get the money from travel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go with a better name than the Andy business, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, can that travel be there without either of our businesses?
How would you do that? No, when I meant travel, I meant like the travel business you've been doing, Libby.
Oh, go into this.
Mm-hmm. He earns income, you retire. That means between the two of you, you have to get 20 grand, which, let's be real, Andy, if you're going to do tax filing, you could do 20 grand in a season pretty easily.
I think under the France thing, I can't. There can't be any money in my name. But again, a friend, I could give the trip to the friend, and then they pay Andy for the commission. But it would just be those remaining trips that I had.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. And this is one of those things you need to work with the CPA. All that. Hey, can one of us have a business and one of us be retired? Can I help out at the person who has the business? Can you assist Andy in the business and not get paid? I'm just playing that out. Like sometimes with family businesses.
As long as the back end is not showing I'm bringing in money, I think France is cool with that.
So then the bonus then is you two now have a 20 grand minimum you have to bring in.
Yeah. No, I would prefer not to work if that's a possibility. That's even better. But I said I like the idea that there's an option to work.
Then you just flip your visa and say, I'm no longer retired. I'm going to be an entrepreneur and then do the visa that way.
Okay, so let's build it as if we're not going to work.
Okay.
Let's see where it goes there. What I'm trying to do, by the way, is solve for your life first, but you guys keep pushing me all over the place.
We like plan A, B, Z. You know us, Jay.
Now, in France, we're not going to have the retirement healthcare costs, correct?
We are, for the first 5 years, we have to prove we have our own healthcare.
Okay, any idea how much that's going to be?
I've looked. It'll be like about $300 for a plan for both of us.
International healthcare.
We budgeted $500 originally.
$500 a month.
Yeah, and it'll be $300. It'll actually be under $300.
$500 each or $500 total for the two of you? Okay, so we got to cut this in half.
I would say $300. It was like $284 was one of the higher plans I found.
But that was also included in the budget that we put together.
I've got to count for it slightly different because it's going to matter in a second. So we got that. In theory, long-term care now would be under France or something else, but we'll come back to that. We will, just for my example, blow up the DR thing.
Oh, no. No, I'm just kidding.
And we're not going to relocate anymore.
Is there, with the DR, is there a way to just put, like, we might, like, what if we have to forfeit, like, 20K? Can we just, like, worst case scenario, put that in there?
Yep, not an issue. Now we've got travel as a separate 20 grand budget here for the year. We got your health care here. Everything else, kind of about $3 grand a month ish. Rent.
If we got rid of the DR, then yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just mathing this out.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good. I've played around with this enough to know that it's probably going to be good.
I'm just going to call it DR loss. Just kind of like Just say it happens one time, 20 grand.
Yeah.
And that might be moving costs. That might be whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Now we would be retiring.
Andy's 39 and I'm going to be 36 in a week.
Wow. That's awesome. All right. Let's just double check this. So we got some income in 2024. It disappears. What do we got coming in 2025 for income? So we got self-employment. I got to get rid of that because you decide I don't want to do any of that, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
That would be the scenario.
Yep. So we'll get rid of this.
I said it's scary.
I'm just checking my math. So now we got no income. Don't look at the distributions yet. That's some of the move accounts, fix things. We have the housing I need to get rid of. Hold on. Get rid of your rent.
Oh, yeah, and the HOA thing in there.
Get rid of that. We've already accounted for the rent elsewhere. All right. Let's check the expenses one more time. So now we have expense about $3,000 a month, $6,000 for healthcare, and $20,000 a year for travel. So we're spending out $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, because $20K was probably going into DR, condo fees, all that.
Yep. So we end up with, now it's doing tax, and that's because we're going to do some conversions, but we'll fix that after. We end up with, I'm just going to a random year here. We got 2028, 1.4 million. It's actually pulling out about $100,000, but that's what that is that's the expenses plus taxes. The taxes we'll fix in a minute. What happens is we run 1,000 simulations, 71% chance that you end up dying with about 9 million.
That's way better than the other scenario.
Yeah, it actually is.
Okay, you sold me. I'm selling the DR place. And we don't, that plan at the end, we still have money. Because the other plan had us like both needing to croak about 90 years old and then we were running out of money.
Yeah, I'm fixing it. Some of the tax stuff that's going on here, it'll adjust it a little. It's going up.
And this still includes you have the cost of the long-term health in there, I think, too. And
I do.
We haven't figured that out in France, but
that's why I'm ignoring it for a minute. I'm like,
right, totally, yeah. So it could be even better than that if we're not spending $1 million a year once we're old.
What ends up happening is, we'll just double check what's going on here. So it's sucking up money from your taxable. Now, it, by the way, wants to use your HSA first. We'll probably ignore that for a minute. But what it's saying to do, which we'll think about, is use the HSA to pay your premiums. But because it's international, I'm not sure you're going to be able to. So we'll come back to whether or not we can do that. It's pulling money out of your taxable account. And what's happening is your taxables, including your cash reserve plus your investments. And it's having you live off that until you're old enough to retire, essentially. So what it's doing, which makes sense, is your 401k, all that. We look at the balance of the accounts. Your 401k, your traditional IRAs are just growing. Your Roth IRA, same type of thing. So what happens in this type of equation is that 5 years when you're in France, it's just saying pull off your taxable, pull off your cash, let it do its thing. Then we've gone to now, well, I'm retired, so my retirement money I'm getting is free, tax-wise, you said. Now we got a U.S. problem now still.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to pay on the U.S. side, but not the France side.
Yeah. But the U.S. is affordable. I mean, we knew that in the beginning. Yeah.
But what happens is in that world, and don't quote me on this because I'm trying to figure out tax laws 5 years from now. But what you do then is you have very little income coming in. We do a whole bunch of Roth conversions for 5 or 6 years so that come when you're 50 something, it's all Roth and France isn't charging you, US isn't charging you.
And what's that international thing if we're gone more than so many days from the US?
That won't apply if we're not working.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, not going to help you out here. What happens is the only thing you need to prove is can you live on $3,000 a month in France? That's the question.
Yeah, we can rerun the numbers, but I think so. Like with that 40,
I have some people that can't do a week trip to France without spending $3,000. Like it's
but you get screwed over when you do a week versus monthly rentals, and we know that too. Like we can't be hopping around week to week. It has to be month-long rentals because they cut the prices in half by then. And
and it's whether you're in like Paris or you're like out in the middle of nowhere. Like the rents across the country are going to be.
Yeah.
I can go somewhere out in the middle of nowhere in France near the train, and I can go visit Paris whenever I want. Like,
yeah. I was setting my Airbnb searches at that under 2,000 just because that's what we had put in our plan. And yeah, there was plenty that were, like I said, like more around 1,500. There was some in some cities that were 800. And that doesn't include once we maybe find a place and it's unfurnished. These are just like short-term furnished places, which at that point too come with electric and Wi-Fi. And so we're not like paying those extra things, which is cool.
Now, if you tell me, hey, my monthly expenses are going to be $4,000, well, we can adjust the travel up or down depending on what your monthly expenses are.
And this is saved now that if we redo the budget, Andy could go in and change the number and we could run it. Okay, cool.
Yep. But what happens is I've had people do this. Like, I got a big travel budget. Cool. Then they're like, I found the best freaking apartment ever. And I'm like, okay, you're going to travel less, right? Yep. Well, then we can afford the cool apartment for a year, not travel. And then maybe the other years we take something cheaper and travel more. Like,
well, and even if I'm not going to be a travel agent, which we talked about this because Andy was like, you have to stay travel agent. You get amazing, perks. And I said, no, once we're retired, what I could do is work with another travel agent to plan a trip. Say, I want to go to Ireland. If I bring 10 people, mine is free. If we bring 20 people, Andy's free. So now we've brought 20 people, we fill a bus, both of us are free, and we get to do our travel for free. So there's things like that I now know I can do, and maybe I'm not spending $20K of my own on travel.
And it's no income.
And no income. Nope.
That's the point.
Yep. So I could still kind of do the travel side of it and plan trips, but you come with me, I'm not making money, I'm just getting my trip free.
Or you just go by yourself and leave Andy. But no.
Well, that happens a lot. Yeah, that will happen still a lot. Not if you're not working. You get to come.
Okay, the math says either way works.
Mm-hmm.
The question to answer is, what life do you want to live?
I mean, I would prefer not to have to work. Like I like that idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, a couple cautioning. I can't let you just woohoo. We got to think about this through. Now, you will have to live on a budget.
Yep.
Is that okay by both of you?
I'm okay as long as it includes that decent travel budget. I didn't want it to not include that and feel like I couldn't go places, and because we came from that many years ago, and it was like we can't do anything. I want to know that. I mean, obviously, I'm not doing Antarctica every year kind of thing. I mean, although with 20,000 I could, just a one-time Antarctica trip. But I was telling him in Europe, 20K is going to get you so far. That's like 4 countries, 4 times a year, still quite lavishly.
Yeah.
Essentially, what we've put in here is about close enough to $5,000 a month to spend on life or travel. Don't really care which. I've got them separated for a reason, but like $5,000 a month, that's our budget. Either we get a cheaper apartment or a better apartment, and it impacts travel the opposite way.
Yep.
Yeah. And if I look at our life now, like after taxes, we live on $6,000 a month.
In Hawaii, which is really expensive.
And we have rent that's $3,700 a month.
Yeah.
So we are living currently on less than $3,000, after rent, like $2,300. After utilities, like $2,000.
Yeah,
that
doesn't include our crazy.
We don't spend much money except for our rent. So if we cut that out, I've always the budget that I put together that had all of those expenses in it, I know it's high.
Yeah, we've overestimated it. Which I told him I don't want to underestimate. I think the overestimate is good because again, that still means we have like a cushion.
Yeah. And what happened is because we ditched the DR place, we don't have any hassles. We don't have income coming in there. We don't have tax issues. We don't have that money can then use for your living. starts getting a whole lot nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I want to do this all of next year, and I just want to be on a budget, but I want to live our life how we're feeling okay, comfortable, and then, track it month to month and get at the end of the year and see where we're at. I'm excited to see what it actually costs. All this hypothetical, but I want to see the actual numbers at the end.
Hold on. 2 parts to this. One part you're talking about is like the accounting part. At the end of the year, I want to see what it costs. Yes, but we need to look at it each month in this plan.
Oh, I will for sure. That's how I am. Yeah.
I understand, but I'm just trying to put it in your mental, both of you, like, okay, we spent...
I think it's more just like we budgeted, say, $600 for food. So we know that's our max. He wants to see how much we actually spend because we know we're not going to spend that much. Like, is it $300? And we're like, wow, we had no idea.
Where I'm going with this type of plan. We're doing it when we're young, which is good, but it's also a little dangerous. I want you to be having weekly budget meetings between the two of you. Like, yep, that wine was great, but whoa, we went too far, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is if you decide this budget is just too tight, okay, we'll switch to the business, the entrepreneur, and that money all goes to travel or food or whatever. Your job, quote unquote, becomes managing a budget.
Mm-hmm. I think we're good at that.
Oh, we're budgeters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But some people, when I say that, they're like, I don't want to do that. Well, then we got to work. Like, so I'm just trying to test it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, to me, I hate the word budget because it gives me anxiety from, when, we were 20-something and he's like, you can't buy groceries because we're out of money,
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that word is like, budget, what? But I get it. Like, there's an amount that we've given ourselves, but we've also given ourselves some cushiony numbers. We're not saying, oh, we can stay in a studio and it's $300 a month. Like, we're not going to do that. I'm a little bougie.
Yeah.
So our numbers are there for that. And we don't spend money on, I don't get my hair or my nails done. We don't do we don't go out for wine and crazy restaurants. It's the travel that's most important. Just seeing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Andy, let's switch to numbers again for a second, because I got to see how your brain sits. So this works out to almost exactly a 5% withdrawal rate.
More than you thought, right?
I guess I know that we can make adjustments if things don't go as planned. Like, we have this $20,000 travel and all of these kind of things. If it's bad years, I know Libby understands that we may have to cut back. And if it's good years, we can do more. So that gives me some comfort. And like I said, I really want to see, I think it's going to cost us less in reality throughout the year than we think it is. But I don't know that until we track it month to month and get to the end of the year.
And Libby, where I was going with that is, fire folks, the 4% is just like broken in their brain,
Yeah.
no, we're okay at 5%. Like,
yeah. And I was just chatting with somebody who has a very similar budget to us and is doing something similar. And I think they were saying this year they pulled 3.5%. They've been pulling less than they needed to, so it was I was telling him that. And that's just things that kind of help us when we hear other people with the same budget doing similar things. What are you pulling? It's nice to hear that that's an option if you don't need that extra money too.
What's going to happen, just so you're aware of it, is kind of the first 3 to 5 years of this plan are going to make the difference of, is that a good number or not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If the market goes up for the next 3 years, you are pulling out way too little.
Mm-hmm.
If the market tanks next year, it's going to get tight.
Yep. And I had talked about that before, of the next 5 years really determines a lot of different things. And that gives me a little bit of worry, only because we've had 2 really, really good years. And that doesn't mean that there won't be 5 more good years, but that could also mean it goes down. But if I use that same logic, then no year is ever a good year to retire or keep working.
And then we don't travel and we have a $20,000, it stays in the fund. Yeah.
And the absolute worst case scenario in all of this is it doesn't work out over the next 2, 3, 5 years, and we go back to work for a little bit back in the US or whatever it might be, or in France. And that's our current life. So, and our current life isn't that bad.
Andy, I would be thinking more about if the market goes sideways for whatever reason, travel's first to go, which is where Libby went anyway.
I went there. Yay.
If travel goes away, you're under a 4% withdrawal.
Yeah.
If we had to do that for a year or two, okay.
Yeah.
Who cares? Another question. So now you had said, hey, all our money's in the stock market. Now, right now, you got 20% of your money, literally, exactly, in cash. What are you going to do with that, Andy?
He likes to hoard cash.
No, I don't.
I understand.
Well, now, I had to hoard some of the cash because I really didn't want to, especially 2 years ago when everything was going all over the place. I didn't want to have it in the stock market when I already had this committed.
Good answer.
I needed for the DR. Like I didn't want, and plus I'm getting 5% almost in the savings account.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, I don't know. I would have to look at it and figure out what I want to do. Obviously, it's too much cash, and I want some of it invested. But I would like maybe a year out of cash. Maybe it's 2 years of cash that we're pulling out. Maybe that's 80,000 or something. I don't know. I have no idea. Do you have any recommendations on that? Like,
I do, but I'm just trying to figure out your brain first. My general kind of rule for this is 1 year of expenses plus an emergency fund.
Okay.
If we said 100 grand, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would it break your brain to have 100 grand in cash?
No, I have more than that right now, I guess. I mean,
My point is to come down to that. Everything else would get invested.
no, that would be perfectly fine. Yeah.
And what you do is at the end of each year, we can refill the cash if needed, or whatever we got to go. But, this is the retiree plan. I'm good with like 1 year of expenses plus 3 to 6 months of expenses for emergency, about 100 grand for you.
Yeah.
The other, whatever it is, $150,000 in cash or whatever it is, works out to. Right now, you got nothing in bonds. So there's a consideration you could have put it in bonds. That would get you kind of like a 90-10 split, probably a good answer. You've got right now the VTSAX and chill routine going on. I think you're under in international. I understand the debate on that. If I had my design, you'd probably do something like either an 80-20 or 90-10 split between equities and stock. And about 20% of your equities would be in something like VXUS, which is the international.
Okay.
So that's one of those. The other one I would be thinking about, if you're going to keep with the VTSAX type model, switch it to VTI, because I don't want the income coming off VTSAX randomly because it's a mutual fund. So there's a little bit of tax stuff there. But I would be more of like do a 90-10, do 70% US, 20% international, set it, forget it, and come back when you need it.
Yeah, I think we chatted about that in one of our earlier sessions, and I need to work on getting that done. Like I need to call Vanguard and get it from VTSAX to VTI, and I need to sell some to get rid of the capital gain so I can get that offset before the end of the year and do all those kind of things.
I don't know that I would sell any right now, because what I would probably do is, so you got 234 in cash-ish. I'd take that 134,000 in cash, throw it in your brokerage, and put that in VXUS. You want your international to be in your brokerage from a tax standpoint.
Okay. I think the thing that we had talked about previously was because we had so much capital gains loss rollover, should I try to burn some of that up before the end of the year just to reset things?
Maybe. It's probably a good answer, but we got to look at your overall taxes for the year.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where I'm like, you need that cross-country CPA to weigh in before you make that move. Because what I don't know is how is it going to impact your future years in taxes in France.
Yeah. Okay.
We added another, like, I can't give you an answer. What'll happen is that cross-country CPA will tell you, here's some of those things. We could always then kind of touch base and make some choices. But our original plan was based on a U.S. tax system. Now we got a U.S./France tax system. We need to think about that a little differently. I'd love to do some Roth conversions in your retirement years, but I need to know how that impacts France.
Yes.
Like that's the type of...
Yeah, I would definitely have to meet with someone from France, CPA from France. My current understanding of it is the tax treaty with the U.S., France does not touch or tax pension, which they call a pension, but is our 401k Roth 401k, all of that. Even though in the U.S. it's taxed as like income, it's not treated that way in France. But yeah, I do need to get confirmation on that.
We need to find that out, because what also has happened in some countries is they ignore Roth, so it all becomes income.
Yeah, and that's why we had to bail on a few countries.
Yeah.
That's where you need to have that conversation first. Like, I would be getting with that cross-border CPA like in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Before you start filing paperwork, and just go, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm going. What's my 5-year plan for my taxes with this current setup?
Okay.
This is not, I consider myself pretty good with taxes. As soon as I go to another country, I'm like, nope, there's another professional for that. Like,
yeah.
Because there's some things you can do that look good, but then when you actually fly it out further, they're like, oh, that's going to screw you over here. And you're like, how did I not know that? Like, there's just too many moving parts.
Agreed.
So do we have a plan for the money part of like how we're handling it and what we're living off of and stuff? Or did you need to?
So it kind of changes now that we've decided the France thing.
Yeah.
Like the plan that he had laid out previously, it might still work, but it might not be the best plan. So we need to meet with somebody that can kind of give us answers on the France side to make sure that what Jay's laying out makes sense.
Okay.
Which
Is
our traditionals, turning them into Roths over a period of time, living off our cash.
Yep. And what you can do is, once you get an answer from the CPA, upload that in the right capital system. I'll take a look at it and see, okay, then how does that impact other things? And it may be one of those that I may end up having to have a conversation with that CPA and like, what about this? I've had to do this a couple times because their eyesight is different than mine.
Yeah.
And the two have to kind of match up. Now, the bonus is you've got, between your bank and your Vanguard, you got $500,000 in cash, not in retirement account. You got 10 years of expenses there.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about which accounts to pull from. It's just more of, okay, how do we do this? It's going to change once you get that tax information.
Okay. I'm going to figure out somebody.
Find somebody.
Yep. And I've got a couple of folks that have done the France thing. So I'm trying to remember the name, and my brain is exploding, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Other questions, thoughts?
No, thank you for everything that you've done for us. It has been a whirlwind of a year. I'm sure you can tell. And we always live by the mentality that everything happens for a reason, and you looking for someone to be on this podcast and you helping us through this last year. I don't know where we would be without it. I mean, especially with all these things falling through and stuff happening and all of that. I feel like we would probably be sitting in a pretty depressive state right now without
a plan,
without your encouragement and you showing us numbers and those kind of things that, hey, we're okay.
Yeah. And it has not felt like it's been 6 months. It's gone by way too fast.
It's gone by very fast.
Will these be shared then eventually that we can share? Because I kind of thought as we share our story, you're the beginning of our story. They need to watch these before they watch the next step, Mm-hmm.
I think they're scheduled to come out around the first of the year. There's a podcast schedule, so.
Okay, cool.
I think what you two, so Andy, I want you to think a little about this. Kind of when we started talking, you were 100% of the numbers. And then it's kind of the life stuff that got interesting. The numbers are easy. It's kind of like, and then what do I do with it? And that mindset shift, all that's what I want you to keep an eye on. Libby, you're going to have to make sure Andy doesn't go down a numbers run again and just get all nerdy on you.
Yeah.
We balance each other pretty good.
We were saying last night, we balance each other really good.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.